This is my ALE assignment. So first we're going to talk about my contextual factors for my first placement. My first placement, I was with China Spring Middle School, which was 7th through 8th graders. And I was only there for a few weeks for physical education. When I walked into the gym, I noticed that it was fairly new. Everything was painted really nicely. There was a portrait of a cougar on the far wall, which is their mascot. And then there were bleachers on both sides, and then scoreboards on both sides, which I found very unique because a lot of schools, the junior high gym is always older, and then the high school gym is always the newer gym. But in this case, they had redone the high school gym and the junior high gym, so the facilities were very nice. The makeup of my classes consisted of Caucasian, a few African Americans, and only 2 Hispanics, which I was really surprised because I thought there would be a more of a mixture of ethnicities because of how big the school was. So I was very surprised about that. But I also noticed that the males and females in each classes were not equal. There was usually more males in one class, or vice versa, there was more females in a class. There was never a equal amount of male and females in any of the classes that I had. Now we're going to talk about my contextual factors for my second placement. I was with China Spring Elementary Physical Education this time. I had kindergarten through 3rd, so much different than 7th and 8th graders. And when I walked into this gym, I noticed that it was a lot older than the junior high gym that I was at previously. They did try to make it very student friendly by painting the walls bright colors, and they were all different colors. I also noticed there was a climbing wall on one side, which, I mean, that's really cool to me. I thought it was super neat because what student doesn't like to climb on a climbing wall whenever they are able to? But after the day, I thought about the ethnicities that were in my classes, and I noticed that there were many Caucasians, many Hispanics, many African Americans, and there were also a few Chinese students. So I love to see many ethnicities because it shows that not every student is the same, and so the students can be able to see all of these ethnicities and be introduced to all of that, which I think is very, very good. And then also in this placement, I noticed that there were more boys than girls in the classes. It seemed that every class had more boys than girls. There was never a class that had more girls than boys. So there was definitely, I think, more boys in this elementary school. So now I'm going to talk about courses that really helped me in my placements. And first I'm going to start with my courses in kinesiology. My first one was games and activities with children. In this class, we had homeschooled students that would come, and we would teach them different physical education games. And I was able to interact with these students. And during this class, I learned different resources to where that I can find games for whenever I am teaching. And actually, I did use a resource that I learned from this class called PE Central, which helped me in both of my placements this semester. This is where I found my lessons that I was going to do, and it helped me. It also helps me provide the TEKs that are taught within the lesson that I did. So yeah, I thought this was a very helpful class because it introduced me to new things that can help me with my lesson plans. My second class was motor behavior. In this class, I learned different ways to teach correct forms, and I'm able to identify wrong forms for different skills. So if I'm teaching, um, for example, I taught volleyball in my first placement, and I was able to identify the students that were doing the forms wrong. So I was able to go back and help them with those skills because I wanted them to be able to do it correctly and not get habits on doing the form wrong. Um, and I also learned in this class that um, different grade levels are going to have different skill levels. So I have to be able to be aware that a kindergartner is not going to be able to perform a skill as well as a third or fourth grader. They're going to be different, but I know how to, because of this class, I know how to get them on the skill level that they should be. So this class really did help me a lot in my field placement because of the lesson that I did do in my junior high, which was volleyball. And then my next class for courses in kinesiology was adaptive physical education. I honestly didn't think this would help me, but in my placement for elementary, I had students with disabilities. And because of this class, I was able to know what to do and how to help these students. For example, I did a basketball dribbling game for elementary, and I had a student that was in a wheelchair and he couldn't walk, so we had scooters. So we put him in a scooter, a sit down scooter, and he was able to dribble while somebody pushed him. So I made this modification for him, and it really helped him because as a teacher, I don't want students with disabilities to not be able to play a game because they think they can't. I want every student to be able to play and feel equal because they are equal. So this class really helped me think on my feet and be able to modify this game for him. Now I'm going to talk about my courses in education. I had educational psychology, and in this class I learned different learning styles and different personalities and ways to address situations. So, for example, I had one student that just didn't want to participate. He didn't want to do anything that I said. So what I did was I tried to be nice to him and just say, okay, like, let's do this. Like, you can do it. Like, we can do this together. And that didn't work. But I noticed that being stern with him and telling him, hey, you're going to do this. And that worked well for him. He did it. He didn't complain anymore. But I had a different student that didn't want to participate in another class. So I tried to be stern with her. That did not work. She needed to be talked to as if saying, okay, like, you can do this. Like, I'll help you. We're gonna do this together. That helped her. Being stern did not help her. So as teachers, we need to know our students, know how to address each student because every student is different. Addressing each student is going to be different. So I'm glad I had this class because I was able to learn in this class different ways to approach students. So super helpful. So my next education class would be PD1. Before PD1, I had never been in an education class. So this is where I learned how to do my lesson plans and learn the details of lesson plans. This really helped me in both of my placements because without a lesson plan, you basically have nothing to be a teacher. Like it starts with a lesson plan. It also helped me learn how to journal, which I did in this class PD 3. It helped me to know what to look for, what to write down, what specific things that I can put down that will help me in the future whenever I am teaching. I can look back at all these journals and be like, okay, like I remember I did this, that didn't work, so maybe we should try something different. So this class really did help me learn my lesson plans and learn how to journal, to learn from my experiences from my placements that I am in. So this class was super important because it taught me the basis of teaching, basically. PD2 also helped me because in PD1 I didn't get to do a teach in the classroom. In PD2 I got to do a teach in the classroom and in front of my peers. Being in front of your peers is, honestly, I feel so much more scarier than being in front of the students, because I felt like they were going to be really hard on me. But it was actually a really good learning experience, because they gave me amazing feedback that helped me in my 2 placements and my lessons. Because during my micro teach, I was very nervous, and so you could tell that in my during my lesson in my micro teach. So they told me just stay calm and breathe. And that was probably one of the most important things that I had learned, because in my placements, my first lesson in junior high, I was super nervous. And at the very beginning, you could probably tell that I was nervous, but I had to take a second, step back, breathe, and everything went fine. Like, I was fine, and the lesson went fine, and the students learned. So there was nothing to be nervous about, but I just had to take a second and just breathe, just like in my micro teach, what my peers had told me. We also watched videos on how to dress and speak in certain situations, which was very helpful because, like I said in the slides a couple of slides ago, that you have to know your students, and you have to know how to speak in those certain situations and how to address those situations. So that really, really, really helped me. So now we're going to talk about my extracurricular activities that helped me with my placements. So in high school, I was a Little Dribblers coach, which was for third and fourth graders. I really learned how to do time managing. I learned how to manage and organize different activities, and this helped me so much, because being a teacher, you have to be able to think on your feet and quick, because some things might not work, and so you have to have another plan to go if that your first plan doesn't work. I was able to teach skills to students with Little Dribblers, which, for me being a physical education teacher, I have to teach skills, and I have to teach them well enough that the students understand what I'm talking about. So this, I didn't know when I was doing it was going to help me in my future career, but it helped me so much. And I also was the team captain of my volleyball team in high school, which helped me with leadership, social skills, and handling responsibility and pressure. Leadership skills in my placements, you have to have leadership skills, because being in a classroom that isn't yours yet, you have to just take action, and you don't want your mentor teacher just have to keep telling you what to do. You just have to be confident, know what you're doing, and just get in there and do it. And it also helps me with my social skills, because I have to be able to talk to my fellow faculty. and be able to address situations very professionally. And the big thing that helped me in my team captain volleyball experience was handling responsibility and pressure, because you're responsible for teaching the students. You have to stay calm, teach the students, because you can't fold under pressure, because the students need you and they're there to learn, and you're there to teach. So you have to be able to handle that and just stay calm and get it done and help those students, because they want to learn, and you want to make it fun for them. And so being able to handle that pressure and responsibility is something that's super important. So like I said in the previous slides, all of these classes really helped me to be confident, and I had learned a lot from these classes that helped me in my placements. There were a few specific examples that I had learned word for word in some of these classes, but some of my situations may not have been a textbook kind of situation, but I was able to take bits and pieces from all of these classes and put them together to help me in situations like the students that I needed to learn my students and know how to address them. That was from different classes, but I connected them all to help me with one student. So these classes are super helpful. Maybe not at the time when I was taking them. I didn't know that they were going to be so helpful, but they really are, and I've learned so much from all of these classes. So now we're going to talk about my global awareness in 5 different areas. So we're going to start with academic. So I want to talk about standardized testing. Standardized testing is a very controversial topic. I really think students can't have fun because they are so stressed about the tests. I mean, even physical education has standardized testing. And the students may not be as stressed in physical education, but when it comes to that test day, they're so just distraught because they feel like they're going to fail physical education if they don't do well in this. No student should have to worry about testing. They should go to school to learn and have fun while learning. But the stress of these standardized testing is making the environment just so tense. And I just really wish this wasn't a thing for the students, because it's just so stressful, makes teaching so stressful, and it's just learning needs to be fun. And I feel like the more fun that the students are having, the more they're going to learn. But we're also going to talk about political. So I want to talk about testing scores, because testing scores sometimes determine the money that the school is going to get. And poor scores equals budget cuts. I don't know. How well can a school succeed if you're cutting all their budgets? They're not going to have the resources to be able to provide the adequate learning for the students. Their lack of resources is just going to keep them from having poor scores, and you're never going to be able to succeed if they just keep taking things away from you. So I feel like it's super important that we need to try to find a way that the testing scores should not affect your budgeting. And I also want to talk about social. So I noticed in my placements that students are becoming less social. They don't know how to address their fellow classmates. They have a hard time with speaking to the teachers. Um, I don't know if it's because of technology. It could be, but I feel like we need to get classes that help with social skills. Social skills are super, super important, and um, we need to address the situation because they need to learn these social skills. And also, for cultural, students need to be introduced to different cultures. Being open-minded can help the students adapt because in the real world, students are going to be surrounded by different cultures, and they need to know how to be open-minded to these different cultures. So as teachers, we need to help these students learn these cultures because it's a very fun way to incorporate that into the classroom because different cultures are very unique and different and fun to learn about. I also want to talk about economic. So I think we need to have after-school programs for low-income students that can provide recreational activities, homework help, and support because some students don't go home to support. They don't go home to a good environment to get homework done. And providing these recreational activities could help them just boost their confidence and know that the teachers are there for them and that they can get through this and they can be successful. So I feel like these are super important to have in different schools. And the last thing I want to talk about is beyond the classroom. Me being a physical education teacher, this is super important to me. Obesity in students. It lowers academic performance. It increases diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure. And how is this? This is at such a young age, students shouldn't have to worry about diabetes and high blood pressure because of obesity. So having national school lunch movement like Let's Move really provides healthier options for students because it will boost the academic performance in the classroom. So we really need to push this because students don't need to be worried about teachers don't need to be worried about low academic performance because of obesity. Because it can be stopped. And we just have to come together and help the country to give these healthier options in the school lunchrooms. Because we don't need something like that to affect how our students are academically performing. And so this is my ALE assignment, and I was super excited to do it because I had a lot to talk about. So thank you so much.